In the dystopian future, a butcher lures in new employees so he can kill them and sell their precious meat. This one is a very stylized French film from director Jean-Pierre Jeune. So let's get quirky and discuss Delicatessen. Welcome everyone to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me as always is David.
This is a job for the Australian.
This is a sci-fi movie podcast. We get together to talk about a movie. It's that simple. This week we are looking at 1991's Delicatessen, directed by Jean-Pierre Jeune. This was a winner of a vote. We had 3 Jeune films up for vote on Patreon, and this was the victor out of This City of Lost Children, and I think Big Bug was the more modern one that I wasn't as familiar with that one because I've seen the other two before, but not Big Bug. I was
going to say Big Bug has been on at least 3 different votes, and it's never won.
It's never won. People don't care about the Big Bug apparently, but they were interested in Delicatessen, which, you know, I watched this like a nice 4K remaster of this. It had the very pristine. I've had it on Apple TV for a while. So I was very curious to dive in and see how it looked. Now, I saw this maybe about 10 or so years ago, so it's been a little while. I remembered kind of how it looked and felt. I don't know if I could have told you exactly what the story was from memory, but that's part of why revisiting something's fun. You get to rediscover it all once again. So is it safe in assuming that you had not seen this before, David?
Yeah, that's the safest possible guess you could ever make. Looking through the filmography, obviously Alien Resurrection, I've seen from this director. I have not seen Amelie. I don't have that one under my belt, and I feel like that's a glaring oversight for someone who pretends to be all snooty about films on the internet. But yeah, beyond that's Alien Resurrection and nothing else.
Which is probably the most like mainstream Hollywood movie he's ever done, is Alien Resurrection. But, you know, I mean, the 90s into the early 2000s were kind of when Jeune was earning a lot of cred and getting a lot of flowers and stuff. I always say that I saw, I'm just scrolling up here, because I always say that I saw like a random, maybe I didn't. No, I remember Micmacs existing. I never saw Micmacs. Now, there's another movie. No, I'm thinking of a Luc Besson movie. I'm thinking of another French director. Because it was like a sort of female Indiana Jones type movie that I saw in theaters around 2011 or something like that. I thought that was maybe a Jeune movie, but no, it was Luc Besson. My memory's flooding back. So
The Extraordinary Adventures of Adele Blanc-Sec.
That's the one.
Sure.
I saw a lot of random movies when I had.
No, that's fair.
When I had my unlimited card and I didn't pay per movie, I would go and see a lot of the weird stuff that I didn't know anything about, and that was one of them.
Every summer, I always debate getting an unlimited card specifically for the shows that we do, just to make it that summer maybe a little bit cheaper, but never pulled the trigger on it.
There was probably just about enough this summer to make it worthwhile.
Probably, but I also was a little bit worried about what theaters were going to have what times and lining up with my schedule and whatnot. Because I do have the choice of 3 different theaters. Yeah,
you had the freedom. My local cinema does not do an unlimited card, unfortunately. And the one that used to, I think, shut down after COVID. So I don't think... I mean, there is still some that do it, but I'd have to travel far enough that all the savings I would make in cinema tickets I'd be losing on just getting there. So... yeah, no, I'll just go to the local one that I can walk to.
Yeah, that's fair.
Much more cost effective. If I could walk to one,
I absolutely would.
Yeah. So, anywho, we'll start spoiler free on Delicatessen, as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get to the spoilers, and if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, hit the like button, helps us out a bunch if you do, and you can support everything over at Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Get some bonuses, but I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. So, Delicatessen is set in a dystopia, although the internet says post-apocalyptic, and I guess there's like elements of that, but it still feels like society's kind of functioning, so I would lean more towards dystopia than post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, I feel like by definition of the post-apocalyptic here, I think they're basically just saying everyone has given up. Like, that seems to be the line there.
Yeah, if anything, it feels apocalyptic. It feels like we're in the middle of the earth kind of dying and society collapsing. So I would at least argue the post part of it. The air looks crap, right? It looks like everything's smoggy and like they're talking about nothing's growing anymore, yada yada. It feels like we're in that kind of process. But it is a bit more quirky. It's kind of a comedic sci-fi movie set around this delicatessen and the apartments above, where the butcher lures in employees as handymen and then kills them so he can sell their meat, because there's no real other sources of meat right now. So that kind of is the thing. So you've got all these quirky residents who all live in the building, and their potential victim, who's kind of our main character, played by Dominique Pinon, who was in City of Lost Children as well, was in Alien Resurrection, and probably more Jeune movies, I assume, but certainly the ones that I know of, he's definitely in there. So he plays our main character. He is a former clown, and there is a budding romance with the butcher's daughter, which is kind of a big primary focus of the movie. And I'll leave it there for now. We'll get into more stuff once we get into the spoilers. But yeah, I guess we'll just start off nice and simple. David, what did you think of Delicatessen?
So, going into this, I knew it was French. That's about all I knew. The precept of the show says sci-fi. What I wasn't prepared for is the strange surrealism of it. It's strangeness of the world, I guess, is the easiest way to put that. And I gotta say, I really like the setting. I really like the characters and all the oddball things that we get set up between each of these. There's just strange little behaviors they each have. I don't want to get too deep into each of them individually, because obviously we will do a little bit of a character breakdown, but like, I think that the character work is what really drew me into this movie, which then it's weird with how surreal the characters are, is how basic the plot is overall following that. Like, it's a very straightforward, like, here's what's happening, and there's like no twists really. There's no like weirdness to it. It's a very straightforward A to B plot, and I kept waiting for something else to happen. I kept waiting for like that extra little pop on top of it to add back into the surreal nature. But I don't know, by the time we hit the end of the movie, I felt like, yeah, that was a fairly straightforward surrealist movie, all things considered. So I guess it's not a bad movie. I do think it was an enjoyable time for the most part, but I was expecting so much more from what the first like 20 minutes were promising me, that the back half just kind of felt like a more standard fare, all things considered.
Okay, I can see that. I fairly like the movie, actually. I think I don't necessarily have any like disagreements with what you just said. Yeah, the plot ends up being fairly simplistic once it gets into things, and it builds up to its conclusion. You know, it's under 100 minutes. It's not they're sticking around for too long, but it's more just the very unique visuals, the quirky editing, the pacing, the characters, the weird tone, the logic of the characters, and kind of the dark comedy almost of like everyone waiting for this guy to get killed so they can have some meat, and the absurdist elements of that I think work. And maybe if you'd had more of an absurd plot mixed with all the absurd characters, it might have almost been too absurd, like on top of absurd. Yeah. Maybe keeping the plot simple is what allows you to still follow everything, even though we're doing these super quirky characters with their own little weird sticks going on. But I think ultimately this is a movie that people probably like more for the style than the story itself. The story is perfectly fine. It gets the job done. There's some likable, charming qualities to a couple of the main characters, and you can kind of root for them well enough. But it's really more about just the overall presentation and the use of sets and miniatures, which don't necessarily look realistic by any means, but they look good. They look like they're very intentionally lit a certain way. I mean, don't get me wrong, you could describe this movie as having a piss yellow filter over it, and I think that's fair, but that kind of fits the whole, the earth is dying and everything's, you know, kind of bad and nasty and whatever else. So it fits what's happening, and it does look good the entire time. It feels very stylized at all points with how it's shot, how it's put together. Even some of the sound stuff, you know, it's got a lot of sort of French music in it for sure, and a lot of things like that. But even something as simple as like, oh, someone's going to play a saw.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're going to get like a weird sci-fi sound from the saw mixed with a cello, and we're going to get these weird concoctions coming together. This feels a lot more like a visual style artist having, I don't know, like it's like he's spending a weekend doing like a bunch of like art jams with his friends, as opposed to something that's like, oh, I've got like a deep story to tell about with core themes. And I'm not saying there's no themes. There's absolutely some ideas in here. We've got people eating humans for meat. We've got this idea of just this refusal to eat something else, and you know, all that kind of thing, and society breaking down seemingly, even though it's mostly implied. You don't see too much of it, but it's definitely there in the backdrop. So
there's this whole glow of hopelessness and apathy and different varying degrees of that. Yeah,
like you said, everyone's kind of given up, and the heart of the film's the one or two characters who maybe haven't given up and still have hope and still have a bit of love in their hearts for something. So yeah, I mean, all in, I think it's a very pleasant experience, and I think the style does get it there, where it's a very memorable movie for those reasons. But yeah, the story's not the strong part. I think that's fair to say. But in this case, I don't think it actually hinders it too much either.
No, yeah. It's all about style. It's all about that over, like, some deep, like, intricate plot or anything like that. I think that you said it with even just the filter. Like, the idea is, like, here's this thing that in almost any other movie you'd be looking at and saying, like, oh, that's kind of gross. Why would you choose to do that? But here it just gives this mood to it that feels very intentional, very clearly thought out of, like, yes, we're doing this because it's gross. We're doing that because of that. Yeah.
And that's something that he would kind of do. Because, I mean, it's not the exact same filter by any stretch, the exact same lighting, but certainly even Alien Resurrection has a little bit of that in there, and it feels a little bit more European as a result because it has that. And some of his other films certainly do as well. Yeah, no, and it's even just like quirky things like sequences where it's cutting around different characters, but they're all kind of moving in the same time to the beat of the song that's playing, and it kind of builds a little symphony out of like all the inhabitants of the building, and it's just like, this is purely a stylistic thing to feel like, oh, they're all in unison and it's making music. This is like I said, it's someone jamming, it's someone playing movie jazz, as opposed to the, like, oh, you know, I've written a script with like a lead hero who's going to discover himself, and that's when you say this about inner, like, I don't know, desire and strength and all the rest of it.
Yeah, no, I really don't want to sound like I'm being negative on the film, because I'm not. Like, I was into it the entire time. There was no point where I was like, all right, this is getting a little bit old, or like, okay, I don't quite follow this line or whatever. It's very easy watching for what is a very strange movie, and I think that's a difficult balance to really muster, because anytime you point to like a really out there weird movie, I think there is this kind of, you have to be really into it, you really got to be paying attention, or else you're going to miss something that like feels like it's tying the whole thing together. This one, it's weird. It's got its own thing going on, but it's so simple to work its way through that I found it just enjoyable on its merit rather than anything else.
There's a fly in here and it's pissing me off. Something fierce. Yeah,
this is gonna be that episode of Breaking Bad. The really weird one.
So every time you see my arm going like this, it's me trying to swat a fly.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think it is very easy to watch. Like, I think despite its weirdness, because I think most weird movies, especially like a foreign weird movie, like your average person isn't really typically going to like that or pay attention to it. I actually think this is this I think would work, and if it wasn't for the fact that there was people trying to murder and eat people, like, I almost think you could show this to kids. It almost has like a childlike kind of playfulness to it.
I mean, I get it. I see where it's coming from. It's definitely of a certain level of humor that feels more, slapstick's the wrong word, but it's cartoonish in that way.
There's a cartoonish quality to it,
yeah.
And again, yeah, obviously there's the killing, and there's, you know, some sex stuff. I mean, it's not like explicit or anything, but yeah, there's conversations about sex or jokes about sex. So like, I get why it still wouldn't work for a kid, but I feel like the actual like quirkiness of the characters and the sense of humor and all that would mostly work for kids.
Yeah.
So
I would say the best way to put it is that I wouldn't be surprised if following this movie, this director were hired to do something for kids. Like they saw the potential in the movie. I don't think this movie is the one to go out to kids, but he has the certain flair there for it.
yeah, exactly. They gave him Alien Resurrection.
Yeah. Straight up the most child-friendly movie I could possibly imagine.
Yeah. I mean, sure, the monsters have very phallic things coming out of their mouths to kill people, but like, the kids don't know that.
Yeah. But them, it's just a cool double-mouth alien.
The characters, we've got Louisa, who's a former clown, who's the guy who sort of answers the ad to come and stay at the place. You've got the butcher himself, of course, who's kind of big and intimidating, and he's always kind of laughing menacingly at people, and always very sweaty.
Yeah, this entire thing more or less takes place in one building, and I believe he's also the landlord of that building.
Yeah. And then you've got his daughter, Julie, who becomes the main love interest, who's kind of this, quiet, sweet girl who obviously is overprotected by her very dangerous, mean father, but sees something in Louison to try and connect to. And then you've got the whole host of the tenants who are, honestly, I mean, I don't even know if I want to list them all right now, but like there's a whole host of characters here. You've got a woman who doesn't pay, so everyone pays in like other foodstuffs. They pay in grain, or they pay in corn, or they pay in whatever that kind of thing they've got. There's a woman named Plusset, if I'm saying that correctly, who basically just takes stuff and says, add it to my bill, and walks out, and like the old woman's like, oh, I know where her bill is, and it's basically just that she's having sex with the butcher, and that's like how she's paying him, kind of thing. And then we have like a family. We've got like a pair of guys who are roommates who make something. I was actually not really sure what this was, what they were building.
Yeah, I don't know if this is just like a gift shop trinket is the best way I could describe it. I'm sure there's an actual name for it. But it's one of those little sound machines where when you flip it over, it sounds like a cow mooing. I've seen them. I don't know if they have a name, but I've only ever seen them in like gift shops or places.
I was so confused because he was drilling holes into like a little cylinder, and then the other guy was like putting a label on it, but the label was making me think more of like a can of food, the way the label was going on around it, and I wasn't really sure what it was. I knew it wasn't food, but I'm like, what is this? I don't understand what they're making.
Yeah. It's literally just one of those jobs that exists purely for the weirdness of the movie.
Yeah.
And has like no practical, like, oh yes, the artisan cow sound effect machine.
But one of these two guys is in love with another woman in the building who's married, and she really, really wants to die. I'll just leave it at that for now, but that's...
Yeah.
It's
well, yeah, she really wants to die, and her other thing is she keeps hearing voices that keep telling her, like, hey, kill yourself. Get it over with.
So, yeah, we got a whole host of weird characters, and there's also a family that have got a couple of kids and whatnot. So,
don't forget the frog man down in the basement.
Oh yes, because the basement's always a little bit flooded, and he's got frogs and snails everywhere. Yeah, he doesn't really have as much to do. We just kind of cut to him every so often for a weird visual, and then that's about it.
Yep. But boy, is it a visual.
It's always a visual. I can't deny it. So... yeah, I mean, that's your cast of characters, and of course the tension is that the butcher's just biding his time till he kills Liaison for meat, and the daughter doesn't want him to die, and everyone else is getting agitated because they want their meat. Although one or two of them might also be starting to sympathize with the potential victim because he's a nice dude. So we'll get into more in the spoilies. Yeah, I mean, we could probably get into it quite soon, to be honest. I don't know how much more there is to add. We've brought up the music, we've brought up the visual style, the flair, the quirky editing, and, the weird things where they start doing stuff in sync, which happens a couple of times in the movie to create like a beat or go along to the time of the music or whatever. All that stuff, I think, gives it a lot of personality.
I think the only other thing to say is we offhandedly mentioned it with the setting, but the idea of it is that this is dystopian, apocalyptic to an extent where society is still standing, but resources are low. And this, the idea of eating people does seem to be a more common than you think, but also still frowned upon thing. This isn't like the butchers like openly saying, hey, I kill people, here, get your human meat or whatever. This is something where they're all still very hush hush and are having to like trick people and use euphemisms and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it does kind of feel like the little street that this building's on is kind of like surrounded by just barren wasteland, like the rest of the city or the surrounding part of the city has just been kind of like pulverized at some point. So, and whenever like someone travels into the mist to go somewhere else, like the postman who comes up in his bike, who's like another recurring character, he has like all these metal cans and stuff that he trails, almost like he's like a Just Married type thing. But the reason is so people can hear him coming, because you can't see very far in the mist. They don't go into this too much, but there's just a couple of references to it throughout the movie.
Yeah, that's kind of what I found most impressive with the movie is there's all these tiny little throwaway things that they never really go into, but there's like clearly a whole story behind that. Like the one thing that got me is there is a shot where the father from like the family thing or whatever is cleaning off what is clearly a very well-used condom. As if like this is his only one, and like they don't mention it, they don't bring attention to it, but he's doing it, and there's this whole backstory you can presume comes out of it that the movie's just not interested in telling you.
Is that what he was doing? He was cleaning it for reusing? Because I knew it was a condom and he was blowing into it and stuff, but I was like, what? I just thought it was just a quirky, like, he's making something out of a condom. I didn't know what he was doing with it.
It didn't end with him doing any crafts, and it had several patches already on it. So I thought he was like checking it for holes and was about to try to like fix it up if needed.
Yeah, he's already got 2 kids. He doesn't want any more. He's trying to...
Well, that's what the 2 holes on the condom are. That's when they previously failed.
Oh, dear. I mean... It's the post-apocalypse. Surely the urge is going down. Surely that fire is not as alive as it used to be.
I don't know, man. You're facing down mortal death. Some people just go into the full lust mode.
I guess. I mean, the butcher and Madame Plusset seem to... Well, I mean, I don't think Madame Plusset is enjoying it. I think she's just doing it as a means to an end. But the butcher seems to be very into it.
I mean, look, he's the landlord in this, which all, you know, modern day, it already has all the connotations of like, yeah, screw that. But in this, he almost feels like a slumlord as well, where he's just taking full advantage of all the people living inside. For sure. So I think with all that said, we'll get into the spoilers. So spoilers for Delicatessen, you have been warned, so we can dive into it and get going. So the one thing we've not really mentioned about the premise, because it did feel a little bit spoilery to even bring it up, is there's a couple of references to an underground vegetarian rebellion called the Troglodytes, who do come into the plot when Julie goes to try and find them in the sewers, and she makes a whole deal with them to try and save Louise and to have them come up and kidnap him effectively to save his life. And I love the visuals. Like, see when she's at the sewer and they all come out in their slackers and they've got their I guess workers' helmets with the lights on, and it's like I don't know. There's a distinct visual to it of them all just having these identical like oily slackers on. I don't know. I thought it was a cool look. Yeah, I thought it was super interesting because I thought this was just going to be one of those background props for the movie where they specifically show there's like a poster and how it's essentially a media war is what the postman is saying. It's just like, oh, did you hear the troglodytes? They're doing all these horrible things, but nobody has ever actually like seen the troglodytes. Like it's always been this thing of, oh, they're just a menacing threat over there. And I thought for sure this was going to be a thing where it's like, oh, it's a background thing. It's making some sort of commentary on like media, whatever. And then all of a sudden she goes underground. It's just like, oh, nope, there they are. They said they were living underground, and there they are living underground. And they take, I wouldn't say center stage, but they are a constant presence from that point forward till the end of the movie.
Yeah. There's a lot of hijinks with them sneaking up the walls and stuff, trying to get to Louisa as everything's going down in the third act and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, the movie opens with kind of the previous victim. Almost very old school horror movie where you show the previous victim get caught so you understand what the threat is. So you have this guy, which at first you're like, what's he doing? He's like wrapping himself up in random bits of paper. And you're like, why is he mummifying himself in like old like rubbish basically, and then you realize it's because he wants to sneak out in the trash. So the idea is that when he hunches down in there, he'll just blend in with all the crap. But of course it all ends with the butcher taking the lid off he's got a big butcher blade in his hand, and he's like, aha. And then that's what leads us into the title. So it's got like
Smash cut titles.
It's got like a lot of atmosphere. There's a lot of eeriness to him sneaking around, even though it's kind of quirky, and then the ending's kind of darkly funny with the butcher with the big blade. So it's like, okay, you've done it. You've sold me on the atmosphere and the tone of this movie very quickly.
I mean, even if it wasn't right then and there, we then cut into the opening credit sequence, which is like this horribly messy table that is all these different things that like the credits are interweaved. Like, you know, it says like a production of blah, blah, blah on some ledger paper. And then like the music composer, whatever is like written on a record that's broken as they scale past it. It's a very creative title sequence that also there are dead body parts strewn about on the table. So it keeps that level of like, oh, all right, so this is quirky and also horrific. Got it.
Yeah, and we're introduced to Liaison, who has to pay for his cab ride with shoes that he's wearing, because the lentils he has isn't quite enough. The taxi driver's not excited about the lentils, so he takes his shoes instead. And all the hints of why he's actually there are kind of repeated a few times, where the butcher's kind of like, you're kind of, how much do you weigh? Only 140? You're kind of small, you're kind of skinny. That's not... It's not necessarily ideal here.
Yeah, he walks up and he's like, hey, I'm here about the ad. And the butcher's like, what ad? I never put in an ad. What are you talking about? And he's like, oh, sorry, my mistake. And like, it looks like he's about to have to try to get another cab ride home. And then the butcher's just like, well, hold on, let me take a look at you. And he like tells him how hard of work butchering's going to be. He's like, no, I can do it. I can do whatever. He's like, yeah, well, you're going to be a handyman. You need to fix up whatever you need to. And then as he's bringing him upstairs, he's like, so what's the job? Like, what do I actually have to do? And he just lists off the ad again. Yeah. Like exactly the same. And he's like, oh, that's weird. It's almost like you did place the ad.
Yeah. And also around here is also we get the scene, probably just before he arrives actually, is where all the customers are buying the meat from the previous victim. And we get kind of a quick introduction to a few of them. So that sets up some of those characters. And as Louison's settling in, he's going up the stairs, he's seeing people for the first time, and we see him doing these odd jobs about the building. You know, we get to interact with a few of the different people, and we set up some of these characters. And to be honest, I think for the most part, it'll be easier to just tackle the characters and just say what all of their bits are in one go each, because I don't think trying to remember the order of all the events is really that worthwhile here. So you've got the two guys who live together. They're making the cow trinket thing, and right. So, and that's basically their thing. However, one of them is in love with the married woman who's in another apartment, right? And I actually was really shocked, because when they set up that this guy's like really into her, and she's got like a husband in the apartment, and she's like, oh, come back at 11 tomorrow and ring the doorbell really loud. I thought, oh, we're really going to get to know this husband as well, so we know why, like what the situation is. And we barely, like, that husband is like a borderline extra who just walks in and stands there at a couple of different points in the movie. He is not a character in any way, shape, or form. What this plot actually ends up being, aside from her hearing voices, which is driven her apparently to wanting to kill herself, she basically has a running gag of setting up elaborate death traps for herself, which are the first of which is like, hey, she told him to come and ring the doorbell really loud. She basically rigged the doorbell up to a sewing machine that would pull on fabric that would then pull a lamp that's plugged in into the bathtub where she's sitting waiting. But of course, she didn't put it close enough to the edge, so he rings the doorbell and it moves a little bit, but it doesn't fall in. And she's like all braced and she's like clasping, and then it doesn't go in. She's like, ah, damn it. And then she's like waiting for him to ring again, and he does, and it's just about to get, it's getting to the edge, but just as it does, there's a bang upstairs which knocks the power outlet out of the wall, so the lamp falls in the bathtub, but is not electrically live when it does. And this becomes the running gag, is all of her failed attempts at trying to do this.
So look, this seems like a movie, French, art housey.
Yep.
It seems like the movie that you should be able to do what does that mean? What does it represent? For a lot of the things, I don't have much for it, but for this one specifically, especially that scene of him ringing the doorbell, it feels like her whole thing here while yes, it's suicide, it also feels like it's supposed to be about sexual satisfaction at the same time.
Sure.
How she keeps on like building up to it. And the only reason that I specifically say that in this scene is because as he's ringing the doorbell, it's just like this tiny little nub. I will not explain further. And he's just like rubbing it back and forth gently before he like pushes on it. And then it smash cuts to her and she has like a jolt, like she's sitting up like that. And I'm like, okay, the subtext is just text now. Got it. Moving on.
I don't get it. What do you mean nub? What's the nub represent, David?
I'm sure you don't get it, Pete, but I'm married. I know these things.
I don't understand. You can spell it out to the audience what this nub is for.
Oh. Also, I just want to say hi to my aunt, who I'm sure is watching this episode right now. How's it going?
It's okay. David Zant, he knows what the clitoris is.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then so later on, probably the highlight of this whole plot, as well, I guess maybe aside from the reveal of who the voice is that's talking, because you could sort of tell that was going to be a reveal, because a big constant proponent of this entire movie is people hearing other conversations coming through the pipes.
Yes.
So you're like, oh, they're going to reveal who's actually talking to her later on. But the big scene with her really is the scene where she sets up 4 different things to kill her, and they all fail at the same time in spectacular fashion, where like the gun goes off, but instead of hitting her, it hits the noose. So the noose breaks so that she doesn't hang, and then that also knocks the pills out of her mouth. Like it's like this chain reaction of things.
Yeah. It's she's got the gun aimed at her. She's got the noose around her neck. She's standing on a chair. She's got pills and a glass of water, and then she's got a like a lantern, a
yes,
torch, whatever, that she's already doused the room in like some level of gasoline or something. So one by one, the gunshot breaks the noose. She falls down. She spits out the pill. She spills the water on the torch, puts it out, and nothing works. All of it's and the husband is the one who opens the door at that point. He's like, "What are you doing, honey?" And she's like, nothing.
Yep. Also, like one of the things she sets up here ends up causing a big bang, which is like one of the few things in her plot that actually affects anything else in the movie, because it interrupts something else that's going on in another plot. But yeah, I mean, this was all very darkly amusing to me. And then if you add on the whole thing that it's like her trying to find sexual gratification and her husband is oblivious to it and can't like fulfill it.
Right.
And then this other guy who wants to fulfill it. He wants to get involved and do it. And but this point in the movie, he's had a leg cut off because he dared to go outside at night, because that's a big no. The butcher will get you. Yes. So he finds out his roommate is in the bathroom talking into the pipe, being the evil voice that's telling her things and saying bad things about him.
And he's just like, it was you the whole time. And we like never get an explanation as to why he would have done this.
He's mischievous.
Like, there's implications there, but the entire thing is just completely unexplained. And they just wrestle it out. And I don't even think we get like who won in the fight. I think it's just kind of over at some point. Yeah,
I mean, I guess I think maybe the thing you jump to is like he's actually jealous and he's trying to sabotage it would be the most common thing to jump to. I don't know if it really matters that much beyond just the kind of the quirky mischief of it all, but yeah. I mean, I don't think it does, but it's again that same sort of thing of like cleaning the condom off, where it's like, well, what led to this? And you can just have this whole backstory that the movie's like, whatever, who cares? That's not what we're here for. Yeah. And on the flip side of all that sexual stuff, we got Mademoiselle Plusset, who, like, I mean, her main thing really comes a bit later with Louise and himself, but we do see her with the butcher / landlord, and it sort of shows the start of them having sex, but what it actually focuses on is the camera goes under the mattress, so we focus on the springs bouncing underneath, and that ends up becoming a bit of a symphony with other things going on in the house. So you've got the literal music of Julie playing a cello, but then you've got Louise, and he's like painting the ceiling. So he's also doing this in like the most kid-like fun way imaginable, where he's got like a sort of a stretchy like tether.
His suspenders.
Yeah,
his suspenders stretch back.
Yeah, but he's got it attached to the door, so he's basically just sort of leaning forward and letting himself bounce back with the roller. And it's like, that looks dangerous. A little fun, but definitely dangerous.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's a clown. That's everything they do is fun, but a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, but yeah, that's sort of in rhythm. And then you've got like maybe the mum from the family chopping on like some vegetables.
She's beating the dirt out of a rug.
That's what it was. Someone was chopping something though, were they not? There was definitely a knife at one point going ch 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 ch.
Maybe. I remember bicycle air pump. The dad from the family's like pumping up.
Yeah, that was there too. There was definitely a knife. Maybe it was the butcher eventually. No, because he was having sex.
He was having sex.
Someone was definitely chopping something eventually once there was a whole host of things. But either way, whole bunch of things going on like that. And that all comes in.
And it keeps on like picking up pace as the springs move faster and faster until finally we crescendo, which is everybody's stuff just kind of like explodes or snaps or something like that.
Yeah, everything just kind of fails in a spectacular way, and then it ends on the shot of the butcher's face, his face, if you will.
Yes.
And that's the end of that scene. I was like, well, that was very quirky and fun. Didn't advance anything, but I mean, I enjoyed it.
I'm now aware of everyone in the building, I guess, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of part of it, I suppose, was introducing everyone and all that stuff. Which I suppose, I mean, it makes sense to kind of focus on the main two, I suppose, at this point, in particular because that also is what the police stuff sort of filters into later and whatnot. So basically, she sees him for the first time properly when he's doing like bubble tricks for the kids in the stairwell, and she gets a bit shy and she kind of like goes past them, and it's a whole thing. But he ends up saving the day when the postman, who's a bit of a big sleaze, who's got a crush on her. So he's kind of like, I'll come back for you, Julie. You're looking very pretty, Julie, blah, blah.
Yeah, and he's got it in with the landlord as well. Like, they're buddy, the butcher.
But he's delivering a package for her. And apparently this is like some, what did she call them? Nibbles, I think she called them.
Food of some sort. Yeah. Like, it's a thing that she's able to afford that nobody else is. So they try to like bum rush the postman for it. And he ends up saving the package. Yeah.
But yeah, the liaison sort of grabs the package, and the postman, apparently times are rough in this future because when the tenants of the building try to rush him and it becomes a bit of a kerfuffle, liaison grabs the package and sort of saves it, but the postman pulls out a gun, and I'm getting the impression this is normal here, is that people try to steal packages, so all the postmen are packing heat to defend their goods. They take their job very seriously.
Yeah, I mean, this is standard for Amazon deliveries over here in America. I don't see what the problem here is.
Oh yeah, they come up to they got like a machine gun strapped to their back as they're dropping off your subscription to, I don't know, think something funny.
No, please, yes, say whatever. Just make up whatever horrible thing you want. Hi, how's my aunt doing? Give my love to grandma.
I thought, I was going to go more something that would just be like something, humiliating is not the word, but something that would be like a joke on you. But since you phrased it that way, then sure, yes, it's a subscription to Backdoor.
Backdoor and window replacement monthly, a handyman guide.
Barely
attached backdoor and window replacements.
Yeah, don't worry. David's an innocent soul. He's never.
Yeah,
he's never.
I've never once.
He's never ordered.
Even seen a woman. I don't even know what they look like.
He's never ordered porn from Amazon. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
No. I don't even know if that's even possible. Amazon seems like that'd be something locked down on.
I don't know. I don't think it's where most people go to find that type of material. They're not going to Amazon.
Clearly not.
So yeah, like, so that sort of starts things off, and she wants to thank him, and she's like, "Hey, do you like nibbles? Would you like to try them?" And he's like, "Oh, I'd love to." She's like, "Well, come to mine at 7 then." And the comedy bit when he comes to hers, and he's got like a little bit of flowers with him, and he's dressed up, he's got really shiny clown shoes on, is that she usually wears glasses, but she wants to be pretty, I guess, and thinks that means she has to take off her glasses, so she's determined to do all this even though she's practically blind without them. So it's all a bunch of hijinks of her trying to like learn the steps from the door to the table, and then when he's actually there, she's like over pouring the tea, and she's
Yeah.
doing all
She
sorts
does
of
it like 6 times. Every time she refills a cup, he has to find a new creative way to like not have it overflow everywhere.
Yeah, he ends up having like plates stacked upon plates so that like all the tea's going somewhere, not down the table. Until she finally like knocks a couple of things over and puts her glasses on. And
yeah, tiny little underrated moment I love is that she's saying like, oh, you know, I want to play the cello or whatever, and she knocks over a vase, or he like bumps her into or something like that, and he's super apologetic, and she's like, oh, it's fine. And so they clean up, they start discussing instruments or whatever, and then she just brings out another vase and just sets it right there. It's just like, wait, hold on, you just have this on standby?
yeah, that's a nice little moment, actually. It's such a... Because it's understated. They don't draw attention to it. They don't, like, crack a joke about it. The fact that she just does it and it's never brought up, that she just had a replacement vase, I think that's quite funny. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, you play the cello. I play music, too. I'll be right back. And he comes back with his saw and starts doing sci-fi sounds.
It basically just sounds like a theremin. Yeah. It's just a...
Yeah. But they start playing together, and this is like another musical moment of the movie. Where and she actually like tries to talk to him and warn him about what her dad's going to do, and he's like, quiet now, we're playing music. So they play some music, and then she goes into a whole speech about what her dad's doing, and she wants to warn them, and then halfway through her speech she just hears snoring, and the joke at the end of this is that she looks over, apparently she also made the tea without her glasses, and she actually put in a bunch of sleeping herbs instead of tea leaves, I guess.
Sure, man. Why not? He is passed out cold, though. I do want to say it is premeditated of her saying what her dad does, is that he says that, yeah, I was in the circus, I was a clown, and I had this partner. I think it was like Livingston or something like that. And Livingston, he was like, yeah, and I one day I came out of the circus tent and my partner was being eaten. Like, he was being eaten by a bunch of cannibals and whatnot, and that's just... I had to get away from there, and I needed a
well, he didn't say
job.
cannibals because...
True, he did not.
Yeah, because the reveal, of course, is that Livingston's not a person. When she takes his sleeping ass back to his apartment, she sees all of his old photos in his photo book, and he's dressed as a clown and stuff. His partner, Livingston, who's wearing the hat, is a chimp. So we have a chimp. So, well, don't get me wrong, eating a chimp is still pretty gnarly. It is a step removed from cannibalism.
Yes, and then... as she goes back home, and I guess she falls asleep for the night, we get, like, the only, I would say, actually, like, terrifying sequence of the movie.
Oh, the dream sequence, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just this strange thing of, like, she imagines, you know, the circus thing, and she imagines him as the clown, and Livingston's there, and the way that they shoot this, it's completely black background, and it's very, like... shaky cam, like it's intentionally like trying to disorient you, and just the way it holds on Livingston is horrific. And yeah, eventually they cut to a thing of like, oh, and then the dad catches him and they slit his throat and they butcher him and treat him for meat or whatever. But the parts with Livingston were the part I'm like, I feel like I'm rewatching Nope. I don't want to be rewatching Nope.
It was a delightfully dark little sequence. I have no complaints. It was surreal. It was trippy. And then, just the basic nightmare of him being grabbed and like hung upside down so they can bleed him like a pig, basically, was, it was like her fears. It shows that she's now deeply caring about him. She wants to save him. And that becomes kind of a driving force. And it's funny because he never even knows that he's in danger until basically the butcher actually tries to like cleave him like when he attacks. Right up until that moment, he still doesn't know that he's even in any danger. Only she does. Yeah,
I think it's like the next morning, or maybe it's just after that sequence. She enters into his apartment, like breaks in, and whatever it was he was doing, he says practicing for an act. He's got like a fold out table that is just his head on a platter with a cleaver inside of it, and he thinks he's the funniest shit, where he's like, I got you. And she's just like, oh, God, my dad got here first.
Yeah, because she's actually worried that he's going to die and be killed. So he's just practicing a new act. It's a fun little moment. She's checking up on him. She gets upset and he tries to calm her down a little bit. But, she does plead with her dad at one point. The postman's also a couple times been talking about, hey, like, is that new guy making moves on your daughter? Because she just needs someone, but I'm here. And the dad's like, hey, I'm here. She's got me. Well, I'll cleave you, postman. So yeah. So while they're friendly, like he's not exactly endorsing a relationship. He's kind of trying to keep her locked up, all Rapunzel style.
That's right. And she fully 100% makes it clear, like, I don't like you. You're a bad person, Dad.
Yes.
I don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah, and it's actually him talking about liaison to Plessé because Plessé doesn't seem to like him very much when we see them kind of lying around during the middle of the movie. You know, he's kind of cracking himself up with like his shitty little jokes, and he's been just kind of a dick. She's not all that fussed about him, but he does complain about liaison or talks about having to kill him soon, and it's almost like Plessé does also start to maybe not get attracted to liaison, but starts to kind of feel sympathy for him, starts to kind of understand, because she basically needs her bed fixed because it's squeaking too much when she's having sex. So she has him come in, and this is the other kind of like rhythmic bit where like he's under the bed and he's looking at the spring. He's like, oh, I can't see it. Can you like bounce on the bed so I can see what happens when it's bouncing? And she just sort of sits on the edge and she bounces a little bit. And he's like, oh, I can't see it. And she's like, well, it happens with two people. And he's like, all right, well, let's give it a try then. So he gets up and he sits next to her and they both bounce on the bed until it starts squeaking. And he just kind of listens for it. And he's like, left row, third spring. That's the one. Just as I suspected.
It's this rhythmic sequence. There's music on the TV and they're specifically moving along with that beat. And I kept expecting it to go either like, oh, this is going to get like, oh, I still can't hear it. And she's like, oh, well, you have to be in this position or whatever. And it just gets like, obliviously sexual where like he thinks that he's just here to fix it, but she's like trying to lead him on. Or I thought the butcher was going to come in and this would be an extra reason as to like, well, he wants him dead. But no, he's just like, yep, it's that spring. All right, I'll get to work on it right away.
I think the point of the scene, and obviously it's capped off again when the kids steal her underwear and it gets caught on like a lamppost, and he's like, oh, this is a job for the Australian, and whips out his little boomerang thing that he throws to cut it down, and it comes back to him. And I think that all of this is that I think the idea is that she probably expected him to make a move when she was like saying this bouncing the bed and stuff, but he never does. I think the fact that he doesn't make a move is kind of like what starts to endear him towards her. And then obviously saving the underwear with the boomerang thing was like, okay, all right, she's starting to like him a little bit, and this leads to a later sequence, which this is after Julie's went down to the sewers and tried to like arrange help with the troglodytes, but she walks in on him with her, and I actually thought Julie was maybe overreacting a little bit here, because like there is nothing romantic or sexual going on. Like she seems to get purely jealous because she walks in on them doing something musical together, because he's dancing. He's got like a third leg on, which is like a fake leg that he's doing like a. Don't make that face, right? But he's dancing with the three legs, and she's got like is it maracas? She's got like a really simple instrument. She's just kind of shaking around, maybe a little tambourine or something like that. But it's just something simple. And because they're dancing, and they're not even, when I say they're dancing, they're not holding hands. They're not slow dancing. They're not doing like a romantic dance. Right. They are standing in a line as if they're line dancing. They're not touching each other. Julie comes in and looks like she's just caught him cheating on her.
I have to assume, I almost felt like this was a Naked Gun sequence, specifically for the setup where he turns as she enters and says, Julie, I can explain. And I'm like, can you? Can you explain what's happening here? Because it feels just that weird that it's like past the point, and she just accepts it. She's just like, I'll let you have your time together or whatever, and storms out.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Obviously, they share music together, but I think maybe the more important thing here is she knows that Plessé like has sex with her dad, and I think she just assumes that she's like worming her way in, she's seducing him, like maybe it's not happened yet, but it's going to eventually happen.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of insecurity. I think it's the thing where she's like, oh, she is so much prettier and like better than me, she's more forward or whatever, whereas I'm more reserved, and she feels like she's missing out on this guy who she thought liked him or liked her.
But to be clear here, I don't think he's done anything. I mean, the whole three-leg clown dance thing I think is offensive to art, but like I don't think he's done anything wrong in a relationship sense.
He's offensive to the concept of art.
Yes. No one likes clowns, they're the worst. So
that's fair.
yeah. But
I mean, it's French, it could have been a mime.
Yeah. But people don't like mimes either, to be fair. It's not like...
No, that's why I feel like clowns are just like a half step above mimes.
Sure.
In terms of like acceptability.
Sure. So the reason why she even went there in the first place, Plessy that is, she went there to tell him, hey, you're in the paper, you're going to be on TV tonight, like one of your performances. So yeah, TV's still functioning in this dystopian future. So that's why she was there, and it led to the song and dance, because he gets all excited about it. So not too much comes from this, to be honest. Like, you know, Julie kinda is won over again fairly quickly. When he invites her over to watch the performance on TV, she does show up. She's acting kind of cold at first, but as soon as it starts playing on TV and she sees him as a clown with the chimp, she like almost smiles and then tries to hold it back. Like, oh no, I can't look too happy. I can't look like I'm enjoying this too much. I still have to be mad at him. But it very quickly breaks down. So it's sweet enough for what it's doing, even though the actual the getting mad part felt a little bit on the force side. But like, fine, whatever. Right.
So just to rewind a little bit, because we are basically into the third act after that performance happens on TV.
Got to talk about the troglodytes, I suppose, a little bit.
Well, not even the troglodytes. There's one big plot point that we see that the family, the dad of the family, Moncho Tapioca.
This ties in with the night that the one guy lost his leg, because it was the same night. Yeah.
Yep. So he apparently is out of work, which where the hell could they possibly work? But apparently there's the idea that he should be able to. And
condom repairman.
Yes. The butcher is basically saying like, hey, if you don't keep up your side of things, and like, you know, that handyman, I'm still getting some use out of him, but everyone's complaining for meat. What about that old lady of yours? What about your wife's mother? She, there's an age limit to this stuff as well. And they, again, these little things that they hint on, but they never fully explain. They're saying like, oh, well, the rules are she's one of us, and therefore she's like exempt. Like, that's not something that's a thing. And he's like, okay, well, the rules of aging preempt that or whatever. And he basically says, I don't think it's just
that though. I think part of it is that he's not been paying his rent because he's got no money.
Yes.
So this is like, instead of money, you can pay with your grandmother or your mother-in-law, I suppose I should say.
Yeah, exactly. So he's basically saying like, all right, look, we'll set something up. And then we see this whole thing of he like sees that she knits all the time. He kicks her yarn ball down the stairs. And then in the middle of the night, as she's going down to get it, he's sitting there waiting. But it almost seems like the butcher is giving her one last reprieve of like, hey, you scream really loud, and when the handyman comes down to check on it, I'll kill him. And then everyone survives. Everyone's all good to go. However, the handyman is not the one that comes down. It's the guy who makes the cow toys. And that's where we find out.
Because he thinks it's the woman that he's in love with screaming, the married woman. So he comes down, and it's not, we don't see it in the scene. We just get a reveal after they're already selling the meat from the mother-in-law. The roommate comes in and sort of chastises him, and then the camera like sort of like, you know, tilts down, and we see that he's missing a leg. Like he lost a leg as like a penalty for interfering with the kill that night, I guess.
Yeah. I again, these rules, the idea that there are these rules, these subdefined functions here that are not explained at all, but it feels like you still get a decent grip on the vibe of them, of exactly like what they're in place to do. Yeah.
So yeah, and then this all leads, of course, to Julie going. She looks at that poster saying the troglodytes wanted, or the propaganda, and she goes down into the sewers, and she does, like, obviously they jump out at her. They do a kind of like almost like a ninja reveal where they're all actually around her the entire time, and they'll just pop up at the same time.
Yeah, they all just look like trash bags, and then they're just like, ha-ha!
Yeah, see, smart. They know how to blend in with their sewer surroundings. But she's like, hey, my dad's got like sacks and sacks of corn that he's been taking for payment for his meat. You can steal that if you also steal Louise and bring him to safety, right? Because he's in danger. So they get this job, of course, but hijinks are going to ensue because not only she has a photo of him, she just kind of describes who he is, right? She says he's a clear, he's got big shoes, he's this kind of thing. So this leads to a lot of hijinks where they're like sneaking around in the walls. Like the married woman at one point like opens up like the garbage chute and like just sees one of them climbing in there and freaks out.
And she's feeling so vindicated in the moment too. She's just like, finally, the voices in the walls. I can show it. And she goes to show her husband, but then the troglodyte drops down the chute again. So when the husband opens up the chute, he just gives that like, now, honey, have you been taking your meds?
Well, she tried, but she spat them all out by accident.
Yeah.
So that's going on, and that all leads to a bunch, because they end up stealing the wrong person. They end up getting Plusset because she walks into the rug trap they've got set up. Because instead of just sort of like telling him, "Hey, you're in danger, come with us," they plan to snatch him like he was like an animal. They've got a trap set up and everything.
Yeah, it's a whole comedy of errors, because as everyone basically in this building is sitting down to watch the circus performance on TV, the butcher is up on the roof. At least I think it's the butcher is shaking the antenna and like making it so there's no good signal, which then baits the handyman Lewison up to the roof to go fix it. And then they have this epic fight there.
That's when he finally strikes with the cleaver, and it's like a whole thing. But yeah, like, I guess that was the point, was to lure him up there, because I was like, I never got the impression that even before this point that he was like actively that hateful towards him, where he was mad that everyone was going to watch his performance on TV.
Yeah,
I think it is just about luring him up, but you could almost read it though if they'd set it up correctly, that this is because of like a jealousy, or you're with my daughter, I don't like that, I'm going to ruin your big TV debut. I
mean, it may be like, he already wanted to kill him, but now he's just like, oh, I saw you with my daughter or whatever. I heard you were with her, and now you've run out of time. I'm not going to keep you on as a handyman even up to this point.
Yeah, because I think early on he was saying, "Oh, I'm not going to kill him until he redoes all the ceilings on the whatever floor." Right, he's got plans. He's got like some remodeling plans that he wants to get seen through first.
Yeah. It's right before the insurance kicks in. That's when you got to kill him.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hijinks here. There's fighting on the roof, the rain's coming down, this is all done practically, of course, so everything looks really cool and great, and things are breaking down all over the place in the building. People are getting into all sorts of mischief. The big set piece after a bit of chasing and whatnot, and like the kidnapping of the wrong person by the troglodytes, which I do think it's quite funny actually, when they kind of get her down to the sewers and they open up the rucksack and it's her, and like and the leader's like, "Hey Jimmy, come here, you were supposed to kidnap a man. Is this a woman or a man?" And he sort of looks confused and he's looking back at her. He's like, it's
I was told Lewison. This is Lewison. This is where Lewison was supposed to be. It's like, okay, but the one thing we got was it's supposed to be a man. Well, it's Lewison. No, it isn't. Huh. And you just see the guy's like face like, come on, man, you can't be this dense.
Yeah, I kind of appreciate that, like, at the end of this, they all just sort of go storming out to go get the right person, and one of them just sort of cuts her free, even though she looks really pissed. He does give her a kiss and says, "In case I don't come back," because clearly all these men, these troglodytes, have not seen a woman in quite some time. They feel very on edge around them. But basically, just that's like, off you go. You can go back up whenever you like now. You're free to go. So she ends up going back up as well on her own and gets back in the mix by the ending. But yeah, I guess the big set piece of the big third act, though, is after a bit of chasing, Lewison and Julie end up in like one of the apartments, and then specifically they barricade the door and they go to the bathroom, and they barricade that, and Lewison, for whatever reason, gets the idea of filling up the bathroom with water. So he starts like taking off his clothes, he rips off some of her clothes, starts stuffing it around the door, running the sinks in the bathtub to get the room filled with water. The idea being that when the bad guys, the butcher, the postman, and any of the tenants who are still trying to help get to him because they want to kill him for food, when they get to the bathroom door and they open it, they're going to be completely flooded with this water coming out. And
yeah,
there's some cool stuff here. I do think the visual of the bathroom on water looks good, and them having their first kiss underwater is like a sweet kind of, visual moment. But honestly, it's the practicality of them actually doing this bit where the door opens and then this, ceiling high water just starts flooding out in slow motion into the hallway. It looks great.
Yeah. No, I mean, the fact that they knew to do it in slow motion as well, because it's this thing of like, it's not that fake slow-mo where like it's all stuttery and clearly they just filmed it at 24. They're like, nah, we're filming this thing at a high shutter speed so it looks great when we actually dump the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, because obviously this is something they probably only got to do once. I mean, maybe more than once if they're really lucky, but probably only once. And it's like, this is taking a lot of effort. This is probably the most expensive moment in the whole movie. We are going to milk it for every second we can. And that means, quarter speed or whatever the frame rate was. Yeah. So, yeah, excellent stuff.
I especially also appreciate the fact that I'm sure maybe there was some level of like in-camera trickery or something to make it happen, but it was very convincing, where odds are everyone who got hit away by the water was a stunt person. It was someone who was, able to take that. However, they do have the mother of the family standing off to the side of the door as all of this happens. And then like she reacts to it. So it gives that extra little bit of, oh no, this is happening like in the scene. This isn't all stunt people. Like she was right there next to it the whole time.
Yeah, no, a lot of smart choices. And I guess the thing is that, I was saying earlier that Plessé seems to start to kind of like Louison, and I thought that was building up to her maybe wanting to help him by the end to let the two leads go. But she actually is the one who shows up. Maybe she's pissed because she got kidnapped, so she's changed her mind. Or maybe she was always just being a double agent for the Butcher. I actually can't tell. But she shows up and she says, hey, Butcher, here's the Australian. Use this to get them down. Because at this point, the floor in the bathrooms all went away because of the water, right?
Yeah.
Or do you... Or do you think that she's intentionally doing this because she knows he doesn't know how to use this properly? He's going to balls this up. Is that what you think?
I think there is a specific reason they had her see the Australian earlier on in the movie. I think she knows how it works, and she's like, that thing is going to come back and smack him in the face.
Okay, I can see that. Because I suppose when he does show it off the first time, when Louison shows it off, he says, this is important, but the person wielding it, it's like, you have to know how to use it. So I guess maybe, she's intentionally setting him up for failure. So maybe she is still doing her face turn that I was expecting.
Yeah. I mean, if it was actually a heel turn, I would have, or, staying on heel, I guess. If it were that, I would have expected her to have any sort of like gasp reaction or something like that to him dying, like any sort of dedication afterwards, but we don't get anything like that.
That makes sense. I do like how they do it as well, where he throws it. It's not like he misses, like, because he aims badly. He just, like, it starts to spin back the way, like, it gets to Louison's face, like, within a couple inches of it, and then starts to turn and comes back from there. So it's a really cool, like, almost there effect. And then it comes back and just wedges itself into the Butcher's forehead, and that's kind of the big climax of the chase and the fight.
Meanwhile, right before he throws it, the troglodytes also come in through the roof with a net and just grab Julie and just bring her out through the ceiling. And that's like the final push he has. He's just like, you're taking away my daughter. All right, now you die.
Also, during all this, the postman tried to fire his gun and it exploded in his hand because the kids filled it with something earlier on.
They filled it with like pudding and they like dangled it down a rope or something. Again, there's a million little moving parts in this movie and almost none of them matter to the larger, like, he just wants to try to kill Louison. Like, that's it. That's the only thing that matters.
Well, that's why we didn't bring it up earlier, because it's like, it only came to mind because I'm like, we have to mention what happened to him for the end of his part. I'm like, the gun exploded in his hand, probably taking his hand with it. But why did that happen? Because the kids did this earlier. But it was such a little throwaway little moment that it happened in that you don't really remember it until the effect of it comes into play. But I mean, all this is nice and chaotic. It's very energetic. There's a lot of rushing about and things like that. And the movie just kind of ends with some time later. Things seem to have calmed down. Presumably Julie and Lewis, and it's now their building, and they're on the roof playing their music, and so we get one last little piece of music from them to wrap it up.
Specifically, though, as they're up on the roof, it does seem like the yellow filter, like the haze finally dissipates because it looks like a lot brighter. The sky's finally blue again.
Yeah, maybe we're coming out, and so if you've had a post-apocalypse and nature starts to heal to go back to like a non-apocalypse, what do we call that period? Like the pre-civilization period? Yeah,
it's the why am I blanking on the new one? The first movie in the new trilogy of Planet of the Apes.
Okay, but that doesn't give me a name.
I don't know. It's the post humanity era. I don't know. If it's
The post-apocalypse.
Post-apocalypse, sure. I'll take it. But no, I really do like that sequence, not only because it is this, you know, the musical thing, we get back to that sort of stuff, but just from the color palette changing, it is just such a shorthand where you almost forgot by the end of the movie what things are supposed to usually look like. And then when they all of a sudden change it back to like, oh no, here's what like actual reality looks like. It's like, oh yeah, cool. It kind of gives me a vibe, and I don't know if this is really going to resonate with you, but like a more messed up version of a Roald Dahl book. Like, sure. Have you read a lot of Roald Dahl, or like, are you familiar with?
I mean, I'm familiar with who Roald Dahl is. I've never actually read any of the books, though.
That's fair. I mean, like, so many of the ones that he's famous for, like your Matildas, your Willy Wonkas, your stuff like that, are, when they're adapted, they're pulled back significantly as to how, like, messed up the world was in the books. And there's several other ones. The one I'm thinking of, I think it's called like The Jerks or something like that. I don't know. This reminds me of that kind of world. It just reminds me of like this world that just feels a little bit dingier, a little bit darker, but in the end there is still this like magical quality to it. And it does a great job of getting that across.
Yeah, there's kind of it's a very unique aesthetic and tone that this has, and it does feel distinctly European. And kind of like, it's quirky, but there's a darkness, and it does feel like something that I don't think I can see an American movie doing, which is nice because it makes it feel unique in this sort of flavor or something else. It's the same way when we do something like Save the Green Planet. We're like, oh, this is a movie that I just can't see like America pulling off. Now that's a funny example actually, because obviously they did remake it into a US movie, but you know, even that was quirky in its own way. It was a very different type of weird. And I think this is another example if like, this was ever made or even if not this was ever made, but like I can't see an American movie nailing this type of feel to it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do feel the American aspect of it is like, the lack of an American aspect of it is definitely something. But for me, I feel like what I was mourning more as I was watching it is the mid-grade movie. You know, how everything is either a blockbuster or cheap for streaming. This feels like it was in that center spot, and it's just never going to happen again.
Yeah, you're something. Yeah, because there used to be a whole scale of budgets, all the way from indie all the way up to your blockbusters, and there was like a gradient of budgets in between. That seems to have gone the wayside. But having said that, I think where that still does happen is probably outside of the US more so than anywhere else, just because.
Oh yeah.
Just because, the industries are different. They're not all chasing the mega blockbuster. I think the US and China are like, oh no, everything has to be a mega hit, like billions of dollars, all that stuff. I think, I don't know if, like France, to be specific to this movie, I don't know if France is chasing that trend as much or just making interesting movies. So
yeah, I hope so. I mean, if I never hear about a blockbuster coming out of France, but France still has like a thriving film community, I'd say that's a success. Like, I think that it's good to have.
For sure. So, no, I think it's a very pleasant watch. I think it's a nice, easy 100 minutes of your time. It's kind of charming, puts a smile on your face. But, you know, it does have a style. It does, and the style is the main selling point. So if you don't jive with that, I could definitely see you not liking it very much. But as long as you're in the mood for what this movie's offering, I think you'll probably come out finding it quite charming. Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely one of those things, though, that I don't know if you need to know everything about it going in, but I do think you should at least be aware that you are in for a surreal / absurdist foreign film. Like, that's the bare minimum I think you should know going into this, because otherwise you're gonna probably bounce off it if you're expecting something like, you know, hard sci-fi or something like that. Yeah, for sure. All right, David, let's rate Delicatessen out of 10. I feel like this is a really, 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 really good movie. I'm just wondering whether or not I think it's great. And that's what trips it over the threshold between like a 7.5 and an 8 for me. I found myself enjoying it. I found myself really liking a lot of aspects of it.
but I also don't think it's one I'm ever like thinking I'm going to come back to. Like I don't know if that's implicitly on the quality of the movie or just the type of movie it is, where like, yes, I like these characters, but the story is so paper thin that I don't feel like there's anything more to explore with that. I don't know. I think the doubt itself says something. So I think I'm just going to say a very high 7.5, but I can't crack it over to an A for some reason.
Sure. I think I'm giving it the 8. I think I'm going to go higher than that. But I think the style is so, like, thick. And it's so quirky and pleasant. And, like, a kind of a unique way. Because I wouldn't say that I'm typically someone who likes whimsical stuff. And I would say that this is a little bit whimsical, but it's got its own type of whimsy. It's got like a, I don't know, again, like a European kind of bent to the whimsy. That's just means it's got a little bit more of like a sort of a wink sexual kind of like, we can talk about sex and death here with our whimsy.
Mm-hmm.
Normally you don't get that as much. And I think that side to it is really doing a lot. Plus the characters are charming and whatnot. Also, a detail that I never brought up earlier on that I really liked is the wife who keeps trying to kill herself. I love that every time, regardless of the situation, she's sitting in a bathtub or whatever, she's always completely well dressed with like all of her makeup and glasses on, her hair's up, done properly. Like she always looks like she's going to work at an office, regardless of the type of like death she's about to try and inflict upon herself. And I think that's a really interesting detail to just or just visual like thing to make it look even weirder every time it's happening. It's like, she's not just like in her like pajamas looking depressed or whatever.
I just remembered during the first attempt there she was sitting in the bathtub. It didn't look like water, but they never say what it is. It was like dark and brown and cloudy. But like I don't know what it was.
I mean, I don't know either. Maybe the water's just maybe dirty. Maybe that's all they're going for. I don't know. Maybe,
but I don't feel like that's shown in any of the other, like even when they fill up the whole bathroom, it's very clean and clear blue water.
I don't know what to tell you. But,
I don't know. I just saw that as I was clicking through, and I'm like, that's weird. Why is the water that color? They don't explain that.
Let your imaginations run wild, I suppose. Yes. But yeah, there you go. That is our discussion of Delicatessen. Next time on the Atomic Cinema Experiment, if all goes to plan, it should be a new theatre release, and that is The End of Oak Street, which is about a street that gets sent back in time, seemingly, to dinosaur times, based on the trailer, right? I'm just basing that on the trailer that I've seen a few times now,
okay.
But that seems to be the premise of the movie.
I'd love for the movie to be like, yes, that's the premise, but the whole movie is just following the home base team trying to get them back. We never actually follow anything in dinosaur times.
I mean, the trailers. I mean, unless like all the footage in the trailers, all we ever see are dinosaurs. I'm fairly confident we're going to be surviving dinosaur action for much of it. But it's from the director of It Follows, which is very intriguing.
Ooh.
This feels a lot more like a mainstream, just popcorn movie to me, based on what I'm seeing in the trailers. Mm-hmm. But I am intrigued to see how it shapes up, given how much I love It Follows. So we shall see. But yeah, that should be next week's episode. So David's got a homework movie in a second, but I'll just before we get to that, I'll say you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Helps out a bunch if you do. And you can get some bonus stuff over there, like the ratings rundown for each segment or for each episode of the show, or our monthly show Extra Reels, where we review some of the worst movies of all time. We're almost at 50 episodes of that. We're getting close. So hold that catalogue to dive into and see our misery and our brains deteriorate over a span of a few years. So go and have a look, see if you're interested. Check out our other movie show, of course, The Collector's Cut, which is every week. And we're doing submarine movies on there right now. That's our season there. And that's been an interesting time as well. So yeah. All right, every week David goes back, watches a sci-fi movie that we did in the show before he joined, so he can be eventually caught up and have seen all the things we've done on the show. So David, what is this week's homework movie?
So this one got me in a little bit of like an absurdist, surrealist sort of vibe. And if there's one guy, one director that I feel like kind of hits that vibe.
Michael Bay.
I would like Michael Bay so much more if he leaned into that. No, Terry Gilliam.
Ah.
Yes. Now, I thought you guys covered Brazil at some point. Does not seem like
Nope.
you did. And I think that would have been the obvious choice. So I instead went with 12 Monkeys, which I had never seen before. That is one of my time travel blind spots. And it's all right.
I am so glad you're not enthusiastic because
Yeah.
I think that movie's so overrated. Now, weird thing about this, I don't know if you've actually looked at the episode we did on that in any way.
I did not.
But we did there's a bonus thing in that episode, right? So if you want a quick homework one week, you don't have a lot of time, you've only got maybe half an hour to watch something. The short French film that it's a remake of Les Jetés, I highly recommend doing that as a homework episode 1 week.
I remember hearing about that. I don't know. There's probably some YouTube documentary thing of like, it's essentially like a slideshow, right? It's like still images.
There's like one real shot in the whole thing, but it's mostly stills with narration. But it's very, it's much better than 12 Monkeys.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out at some point. But yeah, no, I don't know. I went into 12 Monkeys expecting something weird, and I feel like kind of in the same way as this movie, but like without the artistic flair. It was simpler than I thought it would be. Like it was more normal than I was expecting to get out of it. Yes, I think the standout performance in this movie is probably Brad Pitt. He's just going full ham with it, and he's doing a great job. But beyond that, like the entirety of what I enjoy about time travel movies is it makes a normal plot feel more complex. You have to put in this extra thought to it. You have to do that stuff. This one I feel like was signaling way too early down the road exactly how it was going to be. And like all of the quote unquote twists, I was like, yeah, I saw that at like minute 10. What are we doing? What are we sitting here for? And then, yeah, I also just feel like it's a little bit confusing with how they do their time travel, but whatever. I don't need that to be fully explained. So yeah, it's not a bad movie by any means, but like I probably don't see it as overrated as you do, but I definitely don't feel like I was missing out as I have with some other homeworks I've done where I've been like, oh man, how did this slip by me for so long? So yeah, overall, I'd say probably on the low end, a 7 than anything else. I think it's got good qualities to it. It's actually like a movie, but it's just missing a little bit of that pop zing that I usually hope from these things.
Yeah, not a fan. I've seen it a couple times, and I did not vibe with it either time. I'm sorry to say. So I wouldn't recommend 12 Monkeys. Although people do like it, people do go to bat for it. I am not one of those people. Leisure Tea, much better. To get pretentious for a minute.
I prefer the silent art house French film.
That's very good, and because it's only half an hour, it doesn't have to overly telegraph things. It just, I mean, obviously you'll see some things coming because you've seen 12 Monkeys now, but like it's not like it painfully spells them out in advance like that does. So anyway,
See, what I'm curious about is when I went to go watch 12 Monkeys, they were also suggesting to me, I guess there was a TV series or something.
Yeah, there was. That was a much more recent thing, relatively speaking.
I have to assume that was like a complete change of adaptation, because if they just tried to stretch the plot of what 12 Monkeys was out to a whole series, dear God, what are we doing for that time?
I could see it being a season. I could see it being, we're going to have him like mostly in present day from the future, but the ending's not going to happen until the 10th episode, so we're going to have him just experiencing present day life for so long. I have no idea if that's what it is. I've never seen the show, but
change the past, save the future, only available on Sci-Fi. Oof. 4 seasons.
Yep, there you go. That is the Atomic Cinema Experiment. Thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Keep watching science fiction and computer ad salsa.